So I'm just sitting here today admiring our new knife we're coming out with. Big butcher blade. Waiting for my coffee to get done. And then I started thinking how much craziness there is when it comes to knives. Now I love a good knife more than anybody else. But then I was like, I want to make a video today and knives are crazy and I like a good knife, but then I have like small junky knives I love too. And that's what we're going to do today. What we're going to do is we're going to take a butter knife. This butter knife, I think I stole this from like Denny's or something. And we're going to see if we could turn a butter knife into a world-class bushcraft blade. Alright, well maybe not world-class bushcraft blade, but can a butter knife become a bushcraft knife? Can we take this knife, put it on the grinder for a second or two, make it into something that can do a few simple tasks? I don't even want to say simple tasks, let's just say tasks that are very important when it comes to outdoor skills, survival, bushcraft. Before we get into that, let's go and see if we can fix this thing up a little bit. It is dull. It is dull. It's a butter knife. Now what I need you to remember is this is like first of its kind, revolutionary. So butter knife, Scandi grind, 90-degree spine, ultimate survival tool. Before we start our testing, I was thinking about like what are some quintessential things that we do as survivalists, outdoorsmen, bushcrafters with our knives on a regular basis, not going to any far extreme and not being too gentle and too nice with it. And I came up with 5 tasks. That's what we're gonna do with our butter knife. Number 1, cut down a sapling. Number 2, carve a point. Number 3, carve a square notch. Number 4, baton a piece of wood. And number 5, strike a ferro rod. And then once all that's done, a bonus number 6, we'll see if we can still make some nice shavings with that thing, like nice feathers. I think that'll do it. So let's let the testing begin. So we're gonna start out with this bad boy right here. This is like a perfect size for a frog gig, a cook system, bunch of Y branches up top. So we're gonna do our method where we bend this thing over and see how good this Bushcraft butter knife cuts. Wow. So one cut, we're more than halfway through. Give it a little bit more. All right, so typically at this point, the way that this actually cut, I would tell most individuals just stomp it down, and that's a technique we teach with a knife when cutting larger sticks. Don't keep trying to cut and cut and cut if you don't need to. We made at least 3/4 of the way through with just this, so I'm gonna call this one a success. So I took a part of that sapling. Now we're gonna take this top section and we're gonna start to carve a point if we needed a point for just about anything around camp, and we'll see how this thing cuts. Wow, nice and clean and smooth. So simple. All right, that's it. Definitely really easy. This thing is just cutting like a champ right now. Super easy. All right, so next we're going to carve a notch. I'm gonna do a square notch. I think that's something pretty reasonable that most people would do. That's also gonna see how much we can crank on this knife. So first thing, of course, we're gonna get this all squared up. Baton that down inside. All right, notch 1 complete. Put the second part of that in here. We'll go about an inch space. All right, so that's not. The problem is that I can't get a good grip here, but there we go. If you get in there a little bit, let's notch just a little bit deeper and see how that works. Go in this side one more time. Nope. So problem is that the knife is just popping out right at this point. I just can't get enough leverage on this thin handle to really be able to turn. I don't think it's a durability issue, to be honest with you. So in this case, with this knife, I would need to come back in here and just carve the rest of that notch out this way. This is gonna be a hard one to rank. I'm gonna say it is successful because I did end up with that square notch that I was after. Is it nice and clean and up to my standards? No, but I don't know. I guess we have to say yes, because we did get the square notch in there. Now I had to adjust the technique a little bit, but there is a square notch in there, and it did happen with the Bushcraft butter knife. Now on to everybody's favorite for some crazy reason, and that is batoning. So we're gonna start by batoning just this green piece of wood because I have it, and then we'll grab a dead piece of wood and baton that. Let's see how this works out. All right. Okay, very easy. Wow. I'm gonna stop making knives, just buy butter knives. Legit, right in half. Super easy. Now let's go get some deadwood. Pine, just busted it off a downed branch over there. Of course, something typically I would go after in a scenario like this. So let's see if we can, yeah, easy. Maybe if I got my knife set a little bit better. Boom, split right out, easy. Let's go get a piece of, like, something harder. Let's consider this a success, because if you pick your materials properly, it's doable. Let's get something outside of the realm of what I would probably do. I'd use an axe for. Oak from one of our campsites. Let's see how this splits out. Is it gonna do it? I would say yes. Is this gonna take me a long time? I'm gonna say yes. Okay, so you can see at this point, it is going through. Okay, I don't think I damaged the knife at all. I feel like I want to keep doing this. Here's my thing. If I had to get inside this, I would start to make wedges, wedge this top out, okay, and split it out really easily. Like super easily. Like I'm gonna show you how easily. We're even gonna keep our knife inside there. All right. I'm out of camera here. Get it. Just to see, knife is still in there. Piece of firewood, oak, getting the job done. And then last but not least, the good old ferro rod test. Is it going to scrape that and throw a nice spark? I'm going to consider that a success. It is throwing sparks. I would need the proper material to get that done, even to create some maybe shavings if I was in this environment and only had this and this, but it would definitely get the job done. Before we move on, I just wanted to like hold and freeze right there for a second, because they were our 5 tasks we wanted to complete. We pushed the batoning a little bit further than I wanted to, but it still got the job done. So knife in general did complete all the tasks. There are 2 little rolls on the edge of the blade right here, and I'm going to say that was probably from that heavy oak. When we first started getting into it, that's probably where that came from, but otherwise the blade still feels sharp and it still maintained its nice flat shape. And now just to play around a little bit, I'm going to make some shavings with the piece of oak, with the pine, and then our green wood. I definitely think that it's going to be viable because we've been cutting fine so far. I could just tell you right now, I mean, super easy stuff here. I'll make 3 piles and then you can check them out. Green wood, nice, really fine, feathery shavings. Not too good of a curl on that, I think, because it's a little bit, number one, green, but then also pretty frozen. Second one was the oak. Now that was curling really nice. There's some really fine curls in there, so that was pretty awesome. And then the pine, that's probably what I struggled with the most, was that pine. I was getting more slivers off of that than I was shavings. So I'm gonna say that our Bushcraft butter knife build was an absolute success. Now, does this knife suck? Yes, it absolutely does. But in a survival type situation, the best survival knife you're ever gonna have is the knife that you have with you. Here's the thing, a couple quick things with this that I could say from using it. Number one, because there's no handle on it to grab, it makes it very difficult to really be able to manipulate that, grip it hard, and really turn and crank on it the way you would need to. That affected the notching. It also greatly affected my feather carving. Now, the reason that I wanted to do this video was really twofold. First, I just wanted to do something fun. I thought this would be really cool. I'm sitting there literally playing around with this butter knife at home, and I was like, I'm gonna go out in the woods and see if this thing would actually work. Because people all the time talk about gear and they need this gear and that knife sucks and your knife sucks and my axe is better than your knife and I would never carry an axe because I'd carry a saw and I would never even leave my house. That kind of conversation happens all the time at camp, when I think that the true reality is it's really not as much about the tool, but the person operating the tool. Now, yes, there are knives that are way more high quality than this, are gonna hold up better than this, they look better than this, and they're gonna perform better than this. But if you understand the tricks, tips, and techniques that I teach all the time in these videos, as far as cutting a sapling, just simply bending that branch over, or when I started to baton that oak, knowing to put a wedge in the top, it made it viable and it was actually able to be done with this knife. So I can never stress enough that as your skill level gets better, you understand how to appropriately use your tools. Now, that's not saying that there's anything wrong with big heavy choppers or indestructible blades or axes, all that stuff. I'm not gonna go and carry this on a full-time basis now because it does suck a little bit, but you can get the job done. I guess that's my point. I just wanna drill it home so people understand that, and I hope everybody had a good time watching this video because it's actually, I think it was pretty cool. So this was Dan Wowak with Coalcracker Bushcraft. We will not be selling these on coalcrackerbushcraft.com. If you want one, you're gonna have to make it yourself. And that will conclude our Bushcraft survival butter knife build off. I think it was definitely a success and you can get the job done. So until the next video, don't carry a butter knife that's sharp and stay in the woods.